if you fill yourself with muck and program yourself, tune your radio to a whole bunch of you're not going to be able to hear the messages that you need to hear to unveil who you truly are, to remember your purpose in this life. There's this thing that I've been wanting to tell y'all about for the longest time that I refer to as the music program. Every time I go to record it, I end up not posting it because it sounds like I might need to be in a loony bin, depending on what your perspective is. However, I can't hold back anymore. And what has prompted this today was somehow I came across a podcast, which was actually just like a whole bunch of Frank Ocean's unreleased songs that I got to by searching for some Sampha music. And I was looking for like Sampha on Frank Ocean, and it just happened to be on this thing. All of this is related, I promise. There is a song called Strawberry Swing. And in Strawberry Swing, Frank Ocean literally describes an exact dream that I've experienced. And as I'm listening to it, I'm thinking to myself, like, holy shit, I've had that dream. Like, is it possible that Frank Ocean had this same dream and wrote about it in a song? And then he ends the song with the alarm clock waking him up. Oof. All right, so here's the deal about the music program. The music program is a program essentially that we created before we came incarnate on this planet. We created it. It's one of the many ways of coding. One of the many ways that we have coded things into this Earth Gang program that we live in to remind ourselves of who we are outside of here. So I was told about the music program around May or June of 2020 while I was driving from Chicago to Atlanta all by myself. I happened to stare up at a cloud that had the light, the sun coming through in such a beautiful way that the cloud almost looked like it was on fire, and all of it literally downloaded into me instantly. And so before we incarnate on this plane, we choose musical notes, sounds, things like that, things that can trigger emotions and feelings inside of us. And every single note is programmed with a message almost, right? Just like the letter A, B, C, like letters are symbols, so is every single musical note that we hear. We don't see it, we hear it, and there's all these different tones, right? And so every single thing has like what they call a phoneme, right? When you're talking about words, but every single note is something like that. Like it means something, but it's not necessarily a word per se. It's something that we can feel and just automatically know. And so when you have a combination of different notes and sounds put together, it gives us information. Now, what's interesting about this is that each of us have been able to code our own music. So when I hear a certain song and when you hear a certain song and we can remove all the words from it, we will actually get two completely different messages and feelings from the music, because the message in there is according to what you said it was going to be, what you said every single note would mean, and what I said every single note would mean is going to be a different message. Does that make sense? I hope you're with me so far. Interesting enough, a lot of us will be triggered by the same type of music. Like, so for those of us who are Prince lovers, we can hear a certain guitar riff of Prince and be like, oh my God, right? It does something to you, but we're not, it just, you feel it. It's hard to describe, but you just feel it, right? If you're a music person, I'm a music person. There are just certain songs where the music, there's a guitar to it, there's a violin, the way the horns sound, and it does something inside of me. They could be singing about scraping fish scales off so they could go cook the fish or whatever. But the way the music sounds does something inside of me, right? And it might do something inside of you. It might bring tears to you. It might make your body move in a way, right? It might it opens up blockages and things like that, right? And it can be in popular music, or it could be the guy playing the guitar down at the subway or something. This is how the music program works. It triggers something inside of us for us to connect to a memory. Now, whether or not we are able to clearly decipher that message or not, it is unlocking little bits and pieces of us so that as more and more gets unlocked, we are more receptive to the messages that we need to understand. All right. So one song might unlock this, another song might unlock that, right? And as things are completely opened up, when we are given other information, be it in meditation, going to church, reading a book, talking to a friend, now these bits and pieces of us are unlocked. And so we're able to receive it so that the messages are now fitting into the lock and able to turn. Does that make sense? I hope so. So for the longest time for me, music was all about the actual sound, the instruments, and even the sound of the voice and things like that. I could care less what people are saying. But what is exciting to me today, here, 2023, going into 2024, is that the type of music that I have been drawn to, right? And now we have these algorithms that feed us more like what we like, right? So the type of music that I have been drawn to, now as I pay attention to the lyrics, I realize a lot of those same artists are actually singing about the things that we are needing to understand. For instance, Little Dragon. Constant surprises, for instance. How's it go? Things that occurred to me. How's it go? Not of the usual type. I don't take that for granted. There's something. So she's talking about these things that feel like coincidences, and then she realizes that it's not coincidences. There's these constant surprises. She has these thoughts in her head that she realizes are not actually her thoughts, right? She's looking at the trees, I think, something like that, walking by, and she's just realizing that she's getting messages from everywhere. She is literally singing about receiving messages from spirit, from being connected to the one and the all. I've been listening to Little Dragon for years before it hit me what she was talking about. What's even more exciting to me is the way that these algorithms work. Like, I listen to Spotify, right? So me loving things like Little Dragon, right, brought me to like the XX, somehow brought me all the way over to, who is it that Sampha, right? So that was suggested to me one day, and I'm like, let me listen to this. That whole album that just came out, he's literally singing about spirit. He's literally singing about spirit. So my whole point is, music has been pointing me in this direction even before the lyrics explicitly said we're singing about spirit and we want you to connect. It's time for us to reconnect, right? Frank Ocean, for instance. There's something in Frank Ocean's music that just makes you like, I don't know what it pulls everything out of you. It just makes you feel like, oh, stop everything. I got to put this on repeat. And I just got to let my body sway. And I got to just let myself be taken with the feeling. I don't know what it's doing, but I have to be taken with the feeling. And what you might not be realizing is as you're allowing yourself to be taken with the feeling, you're opening yourself up. You're opening yourself up to release whatever you were holding on to. You're opening yourself up to be receiving downloads that you might not even be aware of that are coming through to you right then, right? So I'm listening. And then today, while looking for a Sampha, found there was a Sampha song with Frank Ocean. See how it's all connected? And then motherfucking Frank Ocean is literally singing about the same dream that I had. I had this dream years ago while I was still married. I had this dream that we had to evacuate the planet. And pretty much I was in the middle of a very large highway. There was an overpass up ahead. The cars were all stopped. Everyone was emptied. And over there, people were getting on the spaceships that came to take us away. And to make sure that everybody could get on properly, essentially there was some ticket or some number or something that you had to have, right? And I'm waiting for my motherfucking husband because he's taking his time. And I'm like, dude, we got to go. We got to go. So my mom and my dad went ahead. And they had my kids, and they had a whole bunch of kids, which kind of is interesting to me now because, like, I remember, well, growing up, we actually had a daycare. My parents have always taken care of children, right, and other people's children, and they're going up and making sure all these kids, they're going to be responsible for these kids wherever we end up at. Here comes my husband. He don't got his ticket, or he didn't have a ticket. I'm not sure which it is. But he didn't have his. And so I had to stay. I chose to stay. I had to stay with him because he couldn't get there. And they all left. And I woke up. Fast forward later, find out I got some type of soul contract with this man. It's a very old contract. Kind of, I was stuck in a situation. Frank Ocean sings about that same scenario. Dolores Cannon, in her book about Atlantis, was relaying a session with someone where they also explained and described this exact same. To them, it wasn't a dream. They were recounting a past life or a parallel dimension where they had got left behind and had to stay here on Earth while the spaceships took other people elsewhere. The messages are in the music, so you have to be very careful what you're listening to, what you're tapped in, tuned into. If you're tapping in, tuning into a lot of BS, I heard somebody share with me some song about like the yams. What the hell? If you fill yourself with muck and program yourself, tune your radio to a whole bunch of you're not going to be able to hear the messages that you need to hear to unveil who you truly are, to remember your purpose in this life. The messages are there. It's going to start resonating. All right? You've already coded it into the music that you like. Start paying attention. All right? The music program isn't the only way that we have coded messages to ourselves. It's in a lot of things. It's in the people around us, the colors that we like, the scents that we like. You just have to start paying attention and really giving into what it is that you prefer. Don't go along with what everybody else wants. Start following your own path and trusting your instincts. You're going to find your way. Thank you.